Hello. Yes. I hope am I audible? I think so, yeah. So welcome to Ash. Today we are gonna hello. Today we are gonna start with the biology chapter called as the living world in NCRT class 11th. So let me write down the topic. Living world. Okay. So let's dive into this. So basically there will be two classes for this, each lasting 20 minutes long. So I'll be starting right now. The living world. So what comes to your mind when you think about the living world? Most of us think that it is the extraordinary habitats in which we find living organisms, maybe in forests, mountains, oceans, deserts or hot springs. But have you ever seen a horse, the way it gallops, migrating birds, valleys of flowers, or even sharks which attacks and keeps us in a deep sense of wonder? So let's go with it. The first question which we have is the first one is the technical and six answers to what living is as opposed to non-living, and the second is a philosophical one and six answers to what the purpose of life is. As scientists, we shall not attempt answering the second question. We will try to reflect on what is living. So let's start with the first topic 1.1, diversity in the living world. So, the first thing, I'll give it in points. There are lots of paragraphs in the book. The first point which I say is the number of species that are known to humankind or humanity are known to are known to and describe is between 1.7 to 1.8 million. Okay, million species. What does this refer to? This refers to the biodiversity. What refers to the biodiversity? Biodiversity. So why is biodiversity very important? So we should remember that as we explore new areas and even old ones, new organisms are continuously being identified. There is a saying that classifying animals is like arranging books in a library, whereas one part of the library is continuously burning. So the thing is that continuously organisms are getting extinguished before they are even discovered. We never know that a species came and left the planet because there is not much people into it and not research going on. So there is the need for us to identify this. And have you ever known animal by different types of names? You can call lion as Leo, lion, Panthera Leo, scientific name, Panthera Leo, the scientific name, and many more names are there. But why do we need so many names? We need to know only one name, and the need. Let me write it. The need to standardize. The need to standardize. I wrote like standardize. The need to standardize the naming of living organisms. Naming of living organisms such that the same name will be known. The same name will be known will be known throughout throughout the world throughout the world. This is termed as, any guesses? Yes, you called it right. This correct it. This is known as nomenclature. What is this known as? Yes, you got it right. It is known as nomenclature. Obviously, nomenclature or naming is not possible, or no, it's possible, but before making it possible, when the organism is described correctly and we know to what organism the name is attached to, what is this called as? This is known as identification. Identification. We know what is the organism name attached to, and you know what makes these all possible. There is a united body called as ICDN, known as International Code for Botanical Nomenclature. This is for plants and for animals. It is ICZN, termed as International Code for Zoological Nomenclature. So these are the two governing bodies that make us. Now for biologists to know the principles and each name, so there is one thing called as binomial nomenclature. Let me introduce this new topic. Binomial nomenclature. What do you mean by binomial nomenclature? Binomial nomenclature is that each name has two components, and each component is called, each component is known by two names called as generic name and the specific epithet. I repeat, it is known as generic name and specific epithet. Note, it is not species epithet, it is specific epithet. This question was asked in NEET. So remember, it is not species epithet, it is specific epithet. So what happens later? Who gave this nomenclature? It was given by a scientist called as Carlos Linnaeus, Linnaeus, Carlos Linnaeus. And it says that, it's being practiced all over the whole world by many biologists, and it uses a two-word format which was found to be convenient. Like, let's take the scientific name of mango. Scientific name of mango. It is also known as Mangifera, underline, indica. What is it called as? Yes, Mangifera indica. You got it right. Now in this, the Mangifera represents the genus and the indica represents the specific epithet. Okay, the indica represents the specific epithet. So there are some rules which should be followed for nomenclature, and they are: biological names are generally in Latin. What are they? Are generally in Latin. Latin is a language which was earlier spoken in Greece. There is Latin and also written in italics. Which language? Italics. There's a computer font. Okay. This is the first rule. The second rule is whenever handwritten they should be separately underlined and underlined or printed in italics to indicate their Latin origin. To indicate their Latin origin. Got it? That's why it is there. And the first word in biological name represents this genus, while the second represents the specific epithet that I think so I have mentioned it over here. Yeah, it's mentioned out here. This one. The first one is termed to be specific. Sorry, first one is genus, second one is specific epithet. Okay, Latin origin is done. Now one more thing is should be noted is that genus should start with the capital letter. And the species should start with a small letter. This is what common things, nothing much. And sometimes there is also called as authors written. So Mangifera indica can also be written as, let me write it for you, Mangifera underline small letter specific epithet indica underline dot LINN. The LINN represents the author's name. What name? The author's name. So yeah, this is what sometimes it can also be written as. And since it is nearly impossible for us to study all the living organisms, it is also necessary to devise some means to make this possible. So this is done by the help of classification. Let me write what does classification mean. Classification is the process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories based on some easily observable characters. This is known as classification. And for example, we easily recognize groups such as plants, animals, or dogs, cats, or insects. The moment we use any of these terms, we associate certain characters with the organisms in that group. Obviously, whenever if you think of a dog, you will see the image of a dog and not a cat. And if you think of an animal called as Alsatians, I'll write it for you. Alsatians. These are also known as German Shepherd. What are these also known as? German Shepherd. Yes, Alsatians are known as German Shepherd, and we know what we are talking about, of course. Thinking of animal with external ears, body hair. Otherwise, in plants, if we try to talk about wheat, in our minds will be of wheat plants, not rice or any other plant. Hence, all these dogs, cats, mammals, wheat, rice, plants, animals, etc., are convenient categories we use to study organisms. The scientific term for these categories is taxon. Let me write it. The scientific term for these categories is taxa. Okay. Here you must recognize that taxa can indicate categories at various different levels. Plants also form a taxa. Wheat is also a taxa. Similarly, animals, mammals, dogs are all taxa. But you know that a dog is a mammal and mammals are animals. Therefore, animals, mammals and dogs represent taxa at different levels. Based on the characteristics, all organisms can be classified into different taxa. This process of classification is taxonomy. Shall I write it down? Yes. Based on the characteristics, based on the characteristics, all living organisms can be classified into different taxas, into different taxas, and this process is called as taxonomy, same thing. External and internal structure along with the structure of cells, development process and ecological information of organisms are essential and form the basis of modern taxonomic studies. So let's see what are basic to taxonomy. Basis of taxonomy. The basis of taxonomy are characterization, identification, classification, and nomenclature. These are the basis of taxonomy. And taxonomy is not something new. Human beings have always been interested in knowing more and more about the various kinds of organisms, particularly with reference to their own use. In early days, as you know, human beings needed to find sources for their basic needs of food, such as clothing and shelter. The earliest classifications were not based on some different type of cellular structure or their organization, but they were based on the uses of various organisms. Human beings were since not only interested in the knowing about different kinds of organisms and their diversities, but also the relationships between them. This branch of study was referred as systematics. So the word systematics means systema derived from Latin, which means systematic arrangement of organisms. Yes, this is what systematics mean. And there are some authors called as Carolus Linnaeus. He published a book called Systema Naturae, which includes scope of systematics was later enlarged to include identification, nomenclature, and classification. Systematics take into the account of evolutionary relationships between organisms. So this was about systematics. There is also another video for taxonomic categories which will be covering up in the next class. So till then, let's revise what we have just now learned. So let's go from the beginning. Living world. We know living world is comprised of 1.7 to 1.8 living organisms. This refers to the biodiversity, and more than biodiversity, we know why was the need there to standardize the naming of living organisms such that there can't be confusion among people. That's why nomenclature was introduced, and there are two governing bodies, which is ICBN and ICZN, Botanical and Zoological Nomenclature. Binomial nomenclature was introduced by Carolus Linnaeus, which had two wordings, which were generic name and specific epithet. Again, I focus on here, remember the specific epithet, not the species epithet. Many people have made a mistake. Scientific name of mango is Mangifera indica, genus and specific epithet. Biological names are generally in Latin and written in italics. Whenever handwritten, they separately underlined or printed in italic to indicate their Latin origin. So remember, it's from Latin, the language of Europe. Mangifera indica, here Lin represents the author's name. Classification also, it is a process by which anything is grouped into convenient categories. Then we have Alsatians, German Shepherd, scientific terms, taxa, and basis of taxonomy. These four are important, remember this. And systematics, not systema. Systema is derived from Latin. Systematics. Systematics refers to the arrangement of organisms, and Systema Nature was written by Carolus Linnaeus. Yes, okay, that's it for today. I'll start with taxonomical categories. So today's date is 29 September, I think so. No, today is 30th September. So tomorrow is October 1st. So for October 1st, 2025, we will be starting with taxonomic categories. Okay. So today's date is 30th September. We have started living world. 30th September 2025, living world started. I'm gonna finish it by tomorrow because it's just a 2-day class. It doesn't take much. And thank you for this class. I hope you liked it. Please sure to subscribe this channel. Thank you.